They say it's not the destination, it's the journey that matters. And we say that's the perfect definition of how exciting it feels watching weak, outcast anime characters working on themselves and returning stronger, instead of watching them be overpowered to begin with. Welcome back to Animeology, and today we're speeding through a list of 8 instances when anime outcasts become the strongest in school. There are plenty of heavy hitters in this video, so be sure to watch to the end for a few new binge-worthy additions to your watch list. Park Hyun-suk was your average obese high schooler, and by average, we mean he got treated in the most typical way possible, bullied, beaten up, and loathed by his classmates. Calling him an outcast would be a great understatement. After getting tormented daily, Hyun-suk transfers schools, but the night before his inauguration, he wakes up in another body beside his own. His new body is muscular, handsome, and best of all, instinctively knows how to fight. In his new school, everyone flocked to see his pretty face, and those who tried picking on Hyun-suk met his fist pretty quickly. Now, this was very early in the anime, and later down the line, Hyun-suk does improve his other body as well. Lookism has many things that will captivate you, and it's a lot of fun to watch. If not for the story, then definitely for the protagonist. Another equally interesting protagonist is in a blast from the past, Demon King Daimao. Akuto-sai was an aspiring, kind young priest, but when the oracle at his new university predicted he would become the Demon King, everything in Akuto's life turned upside down. The faculty was frightened, and other students feared Akuto would kill them all. They singled him out and treated him as an outcast, despite Akuto doing no such thing to deserve such a fate.
紹介するわね。今期からの編入生、サイ・アクトくんです。
Akuto continued to endure hardships until one day, dark forces conspiring to destroy the world surfaced. Being the Demon King, Akuto was pulled in by them too. However, instead of accepting his destiny to be the one responsible for humanity's extinction, Akuto chose to renounce that and use his powers to protect them. After a tough, long battle against the gods, Akuto prevailed and saved his entire magic academy. Though life still kept throwing lemons at poor old Akuto, but at least everyone at his school finally accepted him. Unfortunately, that's a feeling David from Cyberpunk Edgerunners never felt. David was a humble son trying to get by in Night City with his single mom Gloria, who, despite her meager income in the cyberpunk dystopia, did her best to make sure David got an amazing education. Sadly, the elite class weren't as welcoming. David was mocked for his poverty and often received beatings by a rich brat named Katsuo who had the latest cyberware installed. Calamity later strikes, and David's mother dies because of an accident. Despite his mother's unfortunate passing, everyone David knew either wanted money or just made fun of his situation. David snapped, and in his rage he went to a nearby Ripper dock and asked him to install a piece of military-grade cyberware his mom found on the job. With the overpowered Sandevistan installed into his body, the first thing David did was go back to Arasaka Academy and punch the living hell out of Katsuo. This isn't exactly a happy ending, but it's more or less a memorable moment of when anime outcasts become the strongest in school. And what's more mind-blowing is that this is only the first 2 episodes recapped. David's story in Cyberpunk Edgerunners has tons of satisfying moments, and you can check those out by pressing the link in our video, which should pop up on your screen right about now. Transfer student Kenichi Shirahama signs up for the karate club, but little does he know that bullies like Daimonji are lurking at every corner. After receiving a stellar beating, Kenichi is returning home when he sees Miyu being cornered by a gang of thugs. Though, unlike Kenichi, Miyu is as karate kid as they come. Miyu quickly dispatches the thugs, saves Kenichi, and even offers him a chance to join her grandfather's Ryo Zanpaku dojo instead of sulking as an outcast with no skill. Kenichi wastes no time in enrolling, and soon he undergoes vigorous training that'll shape his mind, body, and core into that of a honed fighter. Back at school, Daimonji tries to torment Kenichi again, but while Kenichi is hesitant at first because of Daimonji's enormous size, he agrees to take him on in a sparring match. The two execute various moves on each other, and though it looked like Daimonji would win, Kenichi's instincts developed from the hard work at the Ryo Zanpaku dojo kicked in, and in a fast swoop, he sent Daimonji flying into the ground. Spectators of the sparring match were left speechless on how far Kenichi had come. But if we're talking shocking character development, Hajime's easily takes the cake when it comes to anime outcasts becoming the strongest in school. Timid Hajime Nagumo gets summoned with his classmates to fight a magical war. Unluckily, his transmutation power sucks, and he often gets mocked and laughed at for that. Eventually, the high school heroes have to clear a dungeon, but monsters attack, and in the heat of the moment, one of Hajime's not-so-loving admirers launches a blue fireball at him, which causes Hajime to fall to his death. Or so we thought. As it happens, Hajime finds healing water and is able to survive mutilation, starvation, and all the horrors that found him in the depths. His powers also start rapidly growing after he consumes monster meat, and not only his demeanor, but his hair color changes as well. Talk about a sharp 180. This marks the start of Hajime's misadventures as a cold and overpowered outcast. Sometime later, when his classmates who wanted to kill him are in danger, Hajime arrives in the nick of time, single-handedly defeats all the enemy forces, and rescues those who wronged him. It goes to show you that sometimes rage is the best catalyst to make an outcast anime character overpowered. Come to think of it, that's the same emotion that made Legoshi from Beastars embrace his inner beast. Now, in Beastars, herbivores and carnivores live in harmony, though sometimes the herbivores get eaten by predation incidents, so there's still a lot of animosity existing between the two races. Beastars' protagonist, Legoshi, isn't weak or an outcast in the start, but he does act very reserved and avoid showing his true strength because of herbivores at his school being afraid of his nature. Legoshi spends most of the time by himself or with only a few friends to comfort him. Things soon change when Haru enters his life, and when she later gets kidnapped by a gang of lions called the Shishigumi, Legoshi launches a solo assault on their headquarters. He finally lets his inner beast loose and fights through the entire pride and successfully rescues Haru. Beastars is a well-thought-out anime with many twists and turns. It's darker than most, and because of it, it's clearly a cut above the other shows where anime outcasts become the strongest in school. Okay, this one's a little cliche at this point, but you can't deny it's one of the best examples in anime. Midoriya was born quirkless, and being powerless in a society where nearly everyone has amazing superpowers, Midoriya wasn't just an outcast. To some, he wasn't even human. He was rejected for something he had no control over. His classmates, teachers, and even his doctor told him he'd never become a hero. Thankfully, that wasn't enough to suppress Midoriya's spirits. When a villain attacked and captured one of his bullies, he rushed to aid him despite being quirkless. He didn't stop the villain by any means, but he bought enough time for All Might, the #1 hero in Japan, to arrive and do that for him. Seeing Midoriya's sense of justice, All Might named him as his successor. He quickly began training Midoriya for the UA high school exam and then transferred his quirk to Midoriya. The exam itself had hundreds of students competing, but while all of them were busy stacking points, Midoriya was the only one ballsy enough to leap into the air and take down the giant killing robot to save a stranger. And if that doesn't yell when anime outcasts become the strongest in school, then we don't know what will. The last outcast turned overpowered anime character we'd like to mention is Rin from Blue Exorcist. Rin's pretty much a delinquent most of the time, like Asta from Black Clover. Another thing the two of them have in common is that they're both orphans. Though, unlike Asta, Rin has his brother and foster father to look after him. Sure, Rin has his ups and downs in life, but it isn't until one day he randomly encounters a demon that things start to get interesting. While trying to defend himself from the demon, Rin's hidden demonic powers manifest. Now, that isn't a big deal since demons and exorcists are such a common thing in the anime. It's actually him finding out that Satan is his dad that destroys his social life. Rin's powers also act as a beacon for Satan, who then kills Rin's foster father. But the other exorcists present there manage to fend Satan's spirit off. Being the son of Satan and responsible for his foster father's death, Rin instantly becomes despised by even those who love him. He's eventually convinced to join the True Cross Academy. In True Cross, Rin started learning the ways of an exorcist to become a force of good. But yeah, nobody wants anything to do with him. That was the case until Calamity struck the academy, and Rin, who had been working hard to control his powers, came and saved the day. People then start warming up to him, and with a new purpose in mind, Rin's struggles against evil continues. The end. Well, no, that's only just the first few episodes. The story goes places you wouldn't imagine, so do add Blue Exorcist to your watch list.